G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another trade rumours and trade news video. Got my co-host here, Jack, and grand final week. Probably a lot of less talk about trade news probably for the week, but obviously they'll probably be ramping up in the next couple of days. You're probably pretty excited as a Port fan, seeing a couple of Port players. Probably not too much talk at the moment, probably just getting the final details sorted out for those trade plans in the next couple of weeks. Any trade rumours that have jumped out at you that you've been thinking about?
Not really. They did say that Zerk factures two of the facilities at Port Adelaide, so that's pretty good. And I think that's pretty much obvious that's going to be 100% happening. So I think that's a player Port Adelaide need, and Jordan Sweet I think needs to be done 100% for Port Adelaide to go forward next season.
Yeah, we'll see how those trade rumours work out. They're pretty much confirmed at this stage. And we will start with the confirmed news about trade so far. And we will start with Bailey Smith. This is way back at the start of the week, basically, or the last time we talked. That he has basically shut down the trade talks, that he just wants to fuel the fire at the Bulldogs, basically. Just wants to go all the way with the red, white and blue. This is basically a statement that he made, and it is the best place for him. This is kind of what we said all along, that he would stay at the Dogs. There was a little bit of talk, maybe, that he could move to Geelong or Hawthorn, but at the end of the day, we kind of expected that Bailey Smith didn't really have to recommit. He's already signed with the Dogs, but basically just to reaffirm that he's going to be staying there. Now, another one that surfaced over the week was Jake Waterman. He actually was about to look at his trade options, was talking to West Coast about potentially moving on. But then West Coast upped their offer, and he's actually going to stay at the West Coast Eagles now. Probably the biggest news out of the week was Ben Mackay confirming that he wanted to go to Essendon. Collingwood are actually the front runners for Todd Goldstein, who over the week actually said that he wants to leave North Melbourne. He won't be there next year. I don't know why he didn't do this years ago, leave to a premiership side and needed a ruckman. But anyway, I mean, he's 35, so he will probably only have a few more years left, but I still think he's good enough to be playing footy. Another one was Jacob Kaczynski requesting a trade to Richmond, so I think it's really good for Richmond. They're going to get a forward, obviously with Jack Riewoldt retiring, so that's really good for them. Kai Lohmann for the Brisbane Lions has rejected outside interest, so he will be staying at the Lions. And the final one for confirmed news is Massimo D'Ambrosio. He has actually requested a trade to Hawthorn. I'm assuming that one will get done for a pretty low pick at the end of the day. So that's pretty much the only Hawthorn one after really sending out the feelers over the last few weeks, trying to get some players in. That's really the only one so far who's committed to going to Hawthorn.
I just think that Goldstein going to Collingwood, I think, is a little weird. I think they've got Darcy Cameron, they got Mason Cox, and it just seems a bit odd to go to Collingwood for him. But I guess
for him, I mean, he should be going there hands down. But it is kind of strange that Collingwood are looking at him. I guess that they do. I guess they've been a little bit questioning of Darcy Cameron's form this year. Yeah. They've had to chuck Mason Cox in the ruck every now and then. So I think it has surprised a few people when the news came out. I think it was today that Todd Goldstein was looking at going to Collingwood.
Well, you never know. There could also be an option that they offered him under the table that he could get a coaching role after he finishes. So maybe that could be the lure for him as well.
Maybe it's more like a Shane Mumford sort of thing. Yeah. You know, a couple of years as a coach, captain almost. But now we'll move into some rumours. And the first thing I wanted to take a look at was some key defenders still on the market. Tom Clurey is one. I think at the end of the trade period, I would be surprised if he's still at Port next year, to be honest. I think I think Port Adelaide should probably keep him, I'm being honest, but I think at this stage, they're kind of going to be bringing their defenders. There's going to be at least Brendan Zerk-Thatcher. You'd think Radicalier would get to Port Adelaide in the end, and with people like McKenzie still there and Alier, it seems like Tom Clurey is going to be right at the end of the pack in that sort of range, so I think at the end of the day, he will leave. Do you think that Port Adelaide will hold him?
I don't think so. The thing is, for potential buyers for him, he has been very injury prone in the last couple of seasons, so Port Adelaide won't put up much of a fight for him. Would there be any suitors for him though?
I think a club like North Melbourne and Hawthorn would be options because they have been looking for key positions in the off-season, well, so far. They're obviously, North Melbourne are going to have to cover up the loss of Ben Mackay, and Hawthorn have been looking for defensive options like Radicalier. Another one as well is James Borlase. Now, he's obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him re-signing, but only if the Crows can't find a suitable position, if they can't fill a spot for defensive player.
Yeah.
So he'll have to wait right till the end of the trade period. I think at the end of the day, the Crows will re-sign him.
To be honest, I think they should have signed him before this.
When Zerk Thatcher said that he wanted to go to Port, I think that should have been the time when they did re-sign him.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. I think at the end of the day, he'll be at the Crows. Another one is Chris Burgess, who is the Crows have been interested in as a trade. Potentially as a key defensive player, but honestly, I think playing in the VFL this year, he's proven that he can play forward. So I think that he should be looking for an option to go forward. And I don't think that is at the Crows, because I think the Crows have got enough forwards up there. And they're also looking at Mabior Chol, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the last one here, this is more a defensive that could be interested in moving, is Joel Hamling.
Yeah.
Kind of an outsider at Fremantle. Kind of Brennan Cox has gone past him as a defender and played very minimal game time at Freo this year. Obviously, he was a premiership player back in 2016 for the Dogs. So he's proven himself at the top level that he can play. I think this one's kind of a player that should be talked about a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that Joel Hamling has been sitting in the reserves for Freo for so long. If there is some talk of some key backs going, I think that Joel Hamling probably be, in my opinion, probably top, if not top, very close with Tom Clurey.
Yeah, and the thing is also, he is a free agent, so it wouldn't be that much of a difficult thing for Freo to give him up.
Another one as well is Daniel McKenzie. Probably a pretty forgotten player at St Kilda. There's been some talk from other clubs about him potentially moving to them. It says here as a wingman. I thought he was a half. I thought he was a backman in my opinion. But anyway, I think he could move on at season's end. I think a club could potentially pick him up. I think this is probably just if one club comes at him, they probably let him go.
Yeah.
One as well is prize pick 4 from the Gold Coast Suns. It looks like now North Melbourne have actually looked like could be a contender to pick up this position. They're gonna get. They have pick 2. They're gonna get pick. They look like they'll get pick 3 with compensation for Ben Mackay because of the contract that he's gonna be on, and they could also have another pick in the top 5.
Yeah.
So, and they've also got the reported news of like compensation from the AFL to help them out.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to get into in this video, but anyway, they look like they have a pretty big draft hand. I don't think the issue is North Melbourne bringing in young talent. It's the point of 1, keeping them, and 2, building on their potential. Because we've seen so many draftees of North Melbourne go there and then not reach their potential and be a waste. And we've seen other players that they could have picked up in those drafts, like Logan McDonald, for example, a couple of years ago. They needed a key forward. They went for a midfielder, and we've seen that Logan McDonald's came on in spades, and Will Phillips, he looks like he could be a good midfielder, but at the end of the day, he doesn't look like he's going to be the next Brownlow medalist in the next 5 years. Let's just put it that way.
I'm going to say that with all these picks they're getting, they don't need 5 midfielders on their list, so...
And there has been a lot of talk about the next couple of drafts going to be very midfield heavy.
Yeah.
So not many key position players. Another one as well is brother of Harry Himmelberg, Elliot Himmelberg. Now he plays at the Crows currently. Hasn't really got a go in the first team, obviously behind Phil Thorpe, really is that second ruck forward.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk from the Giants actually looking to pick up their brother. So I think this could definitely happen. The Crows have said, though, that they are prepared to offload the guy, offload Elliot Himmelberg, only, though, if they can find an appropriate replacement. I think this could happen. I don't know why the Crows are looking for a player to replace Elliot Himmelberg. I mean, why do they need a replacement if you've left him in the reserves all year?
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, I guess that's maybe a little bit hardball. But I think this one actually will happen.
Yeah.
I think the Giants could definitely use an extra forward ruck.
And I think also to help with Jesse Hogan up forward as well. So I think that could be a good duo up forward for him next season.
Another one as well is Brynn Teakle. I think we talked about this last week, but the clubs that are interested in him are North Melbourne, GWS, and the Western Bulldogs. He originally comes from Western Australia, maybe West Coast, but they haven't mentioned that here. So he obviously is delisted, so he obviously won't go on a trade. Another one we've talked about quite a lot is James Jordan. Melbourne are confident that he'll actually re-sign, but at this stage, the Swans are the club in front from other rival clubs looking at him, which I'm very happy about. I think he'd be a very good midfielder for the Swans. I think the Swans are in the box seat. I'd be a little bit surprised if he actually did stay with Melbourne at season's end, because I think he's definitely kind of been pushed out of that midfield group.
The way he's playing now, he's the Paddy Dow 2.0, really. That he's not getting into the team every week. But he should be in an AFL team, I think.
Stuck in a team that's got one of the best midfields in the comp,
Yeah.
so it's very hard to break yourself into that group. And I don't think he can really play as a half forward or a half back.
No,
so they can't really fit him into the team without putting him in the midfield selection. So we'll see how that one plays out. I think he will be moving on, and I'd love him to be at the Swans next year. Another one here is Mabior Chol, which we did talk about, who's been linked to the Crows. He's actually also been linked recently to Hawthorn. I think maybe with obviously the news that Kaczynski is moving to Richmond next year, or wants to move to Richmond, that Hawthorn are looking for another key position forward. I think this is, out of the options that we heard about the last couple of weeks about Brisbane and Adelaide, I think this would be a great option for him to move to Hawthorn.
It's the best suitor for him, I think.
For his career, I think Hawthorn would be a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the year before, when he was at the Gold Coast, he kicked 44 goals, and the Gold Coast were a lot lesser the year before than what they are, the year that we just had. So, if he can kick 44 goals for Hawthorn, they did show that they were able to play pretty good footy in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
They just did kind of lack that key forwards as well, those key positions. So
if Mitch Lewis didn't fire, they didn't really have another tool player to do it every week.
Yeah, so I think he could definitely be a good foil for Mitch Lewis. Another one being talked about is with the Jade Gresham deal, which we don't know if Jade Gresham wants to leave St Kilda. He still hasn't really... There's no information as if he wants to go. He is a free agent, but there is talk that Dylan Shiel could potentially move to St Kilda with a trade doing this. Now, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Essendon would be like, we want to trade a player out for this. I mean, if they can get him for free, why would you trade out a player? I think it'd actually be a great idea for Dylan Shiel's career to go to another club. I think that a club like St Kilda could use a big body midfielder like Dylan Shiel, like we've mentioned a few times. If this was to go down the track of a trade, I think this would be a good idea. I just don't know why it would be. If St Kilda, if Essendon can get him for free, I don't know why they'd lose a player. But it also has been mentioned as well that Ross Lyon, I think it was just after the Brownlow last night, a couple of nights ago, that he did say that he doesn't know where these rumours have came from, and he's not sure about Dylan Shiel's name being mentioned at St Kilda. So maybe not so much news talked about there, but again, obviously, it's a little bit hard. I mean, I don't know what a coach coming out and saying, we've definitely been talking to Dylan Shiel. Kind of not really a thing that many coaches say. So at this stage, we'll see how that one plays out. But I think at the end of the day, St Kilda could definitely use a player like Dylan Shiel. Tom Doedee. It does look like the Swans may have joined the race for Tom Doedee. Now, if he was going to be playing round 1 next year, I'd be saying to Sydney, go ahead. This would be a great idea. But Sydney need a defender right now. I don't think that Tom Doedee would be a great option for the Swans, in my opinion. This was actually reported, I think, in the Herald Sun. Now, I don't read the newspaper. However, I saw this picture of the newspaper where it showed that Swans are in the Doedee race. However, they've got a picture of Dougal Howard there. Now, I can't read the rest of the article because it's kind of cropped out. But I'm hoping that it does say that Sydney are also in the market for Dougal Howard. Now, I've been mentioning it a lot. The Dougal Howard Sydney need to be looking at. Hopefully, that's what it said. I can't see it. It's written on the newspaper. If anyone read the Herald Sun, anyone's over the age of 35 who are watching this, which I'd be surprised about. I mean, if you are over 35, comment below, because I'd really like to know. It came out today is Geelong is revealed that they are possibly going to trade out their pick 7 in the draft. What are they doing? I'm surprised they're not in the market for Todd Goldstein. You said this before we started recording. I'm surprised they're just raiding the old folks' home. Shit! We can't get anyone out of there. We don't want any youngins. Get them out. I don't know why they would want to get rid of this pick 7 unless they can bring in a big talent that is very secretive.
The only one I could consider them doing it, but we haven't heard since about mid-year, was Sean Darcy for pick 7. That's the only one I would have considered.
But even then, I think you'd have to give something else more than just pick 7 for Sean Darcy. The reason why they would get it out is to get something better in return. That's kind of an interesting thing to say. Maybe they do have a secret trade look at. Maybe they're looking at a player like a Sean Darcy, like you said, or maybe that
because this was shopping for the Gold Coast pick to get up in the order, but. It's the only other consideration, maybe. Yeah,
but why would Gold Coast want pick 7 when they got pick 4? I feel like the Gold Coast want to split that pick. They don't want to just... we'll just want pick 7 now. We've already got pick 4. So I don't know how this one plays out. If Geelong are going to shop it out, maybe they will. But I feel like Geelong this year kind of proved that when they had some injuries to their senior players, their bottom end of their team, their depth was nothing. So if they have a few more injuries at the start of next year and they are trading out their picks again, I think that they could have another poor year again, the Cats.
Yeah.
But the final rumour that we want to talk about is actually something that not a lot of people have talked about so far, and one that you actually found just before we started recording, is Hayden Crozier of the Bulldogs. Obviously been out of the side with the emergence of Ed Richards and Bailey Dale as well in the past few years. Hayden Crozier's been linked to Carlton. Now, when my brother mentioned this, Jack, I was a bit surprised because Carlton's half-back role players pretty well full. I feel like they don't need this Hayden Crozier. He has played forward in the past, so maybe they're looking at him as a potential third tall. But again, they've got a lot of options. Jack Martins came on very well this year. Jack Silvani as well. I think for Hayden Crozier's career, I think he could definitely move on. I think this would be definitely a good idea. I just would be a little bit surprised if Carlton of all teams would be looking at him.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just some more depth because Carlton may need. I think they might want to push to top 4 or top 2 next season. So
yeah, guys, that's basically all the trade news and rumours that we have for this week. Quick tip for the grand final. I made mine in the podcast, but what is yours?
I've went Brisbane by 27.
27 points. So cue the Collingwood comments below you that we're idiots, and who knows, maybe we will be on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching today, guys. I have been reading the comments recently as well. We really appreciate a lot of the support that we've been getting. And one thing that a lot of people have mentioned about the lighting in this these videos is pretty poor, which, you know, we understand, and we'll try to fix that up. We've actually made a bet with ourselves because we made a couple of bets about the grand final and stuff. Whoever misses out on the bet, whoever loses in the betting between us in the grand final today, we'll be buying a ring light, which is like what Instagram people like, you know, Instagram. I think we'd be looking pretty good on that. But anyway, thanks for watching today, guys. Hopefully you pick up the player that you want in the trade period. Obviously, we'll be ramping up the trade news coming up in the next couple of weeks as trade period will be starting. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you all next time.
Enjoy the grand final. See you next week.